Let's get back to the thousands of migrants pouring over our southern border just yesterday alone. One border agent called it the worst day ever. Joe Borelli, New York City Council Minority Leader, joins me now. Joe, cities are already going broke. It's not just your city, New York. It's Chicago. It's L.A. trying to feed, clothe, and house these people and provide them with medical care, by the way. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. You see what's happening now. We have 12,300 people in one day come across the border, as opposed to the 4,000 just a couple of months ago. 4,000 is bad enough, but you triple that. How are you guys going to deal with it? Because you know some of them are coming here.
Well, I would say the bulk of them are going to come to New York. I mean, we are essentially offering them the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Even with the changes that Mayor Adams implemented to sort of lessen some of the expenses, we're still giving people free housing, free clothing, free health care, free food, free cell phones, free everything. So if you were a migrant, ask yourself, what would you be doing? I'd be saying, get me a one-way ticket to New York, because that's where the getting's good.
Now, in Chicago, the mayor's getting a lot of feedback because he's saying that some people who are homeless but are citizens are being stuffed for the migrants who come in. They're not getting what they need. Some of the homeless, of course, are former members of the service, et cetera. Is that problem happening here in New York, where some citizens are being displaced for the migrants?
Well, take a time machine to 2021, and you would have heard every single Democratic elected official in this city and a lot of major cities saying housing is the #1 crisis we face. And we didn't actually spend $6 billion here to address New Yorkers' housing shortage. We took $6 billion and spent it on the migrants, people who came here overnight. So if you're a New Yorker who's upset about that, you have a right to be, because we basically proved we could solve the problem if we really wanted to, but we didn't really want to. We instead chose to spend it on migrants.
Now, in the midst of this, which is already costing, what, about $12 billion for the migrants, and it could be more than that eventually, we have the governor coming out saying that she's in favor, or at least moving ahead with the idea of reparations for slavery preceding the Civil War. I mean, is she serious? I mean, there's just no money to be paid out, right?
This will be the most controversial time Kathy Hochul ever writes her name if she signs this bill. This is the most divisive bill that New Yorkers will pass. First of all, it's ahistoric. The overwhelming majority of New Yorkers between 1776 and 1827 did not own a slave. They didn't want slaves. They didn't seek slavery. We were one of the first states to actually free all the slaves. We should be proud of that legacy. But this, by
the way, it's the same in California, and yet they're going ahead, or at least were a couple of months ago going ahead with reparations.
And that's the problem. It's putting collective guilt on people who are not responsible. I have as much a connection with Stonewall Jackson as I do Napoleon Bonaparte, and I'm not responsible for paying the bad things for either of those did. I have news for Democrats, though. There is an entity that still exists today that raises and spends hundreds of millions of dollars every single year, that if you go back to the 1860 convention, if you go back to the 1850s, the 1840s, there is an institution that supported slavery. It's the Democratic Party, and they're still in power today. So if Democrats want to make reparations an issue, they should look at their own party platform going back over 175 years. If that's ridiculous to them, think about how ridiculous the topic is in general.
Unbelievable. You should run for mayor. By the way, you two went to high school together, didn't you?
We did. Go Vikings.
Go Vikings.
Wonderful stuff, Joe. And is there any chance you'd run for mayor or
no,
governor?
No, sir. Someday.
Okay. All right.
Different world.
Thank you very much.
Different
Appreciate
state.
it.